Hare Krishna, everybody. This is Krishna Dasa, and I welcome you to today's episode of Bhagavad Gita. So today we are going to cover Shlokas 2.4 to 2.9. So if you have your Bhagavad Gita with you, please open the pages to 2.4. All ready? So I will start playing it, and then you can try to follow.
क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप अर्जुन उवाच कथं भीष्ममहं संख्ये द्रोणं च मधुसूदन ईशुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि पूजार्हा परिसूदन गुरून् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं भैक्ष्यमपीह लोके हत्वार्थकामास्तु गुरोरिहैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् बुधिरप्रदिग्धान् न चैतद्विद्मः कतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः यानेव हत्वा न जिजीविषामः तेव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् न हि प्रपश्यामि ममापनुद्यात् यच्छोकमुच्छोषणमिन्द्रियाणाम् अवाप्य भूमावसपत्नवृद्धम् राज्यं सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम् सञ्जय उवाच एवमुक्त्वा हृषीकेशं गुडाकेशः परन्तप न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दमुक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः.
Okay, I hope you are all able to follow along. Okay. So let's quickly invoke the blessings of Lord Shri Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Wonderful. So I think today Alana ji is going to read the translations from 2.4 to 2.9.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
My pronunciation may not be so great, so please, I welcome any corrections. 2.4, Arjuna said, Krishna, how can I, in battle, shoot arrows at men like Bhishma and Drona? They are worthy to be worshipped by me. 2.5, indeed, it were better for me to live on alms in the world and avoid slaying my honored elders. Killing these people who seek their own purposes, I should be tasting blood-stained pleasures. 2.6, I do not have the translation here, I'm sorry.
No problem. So 2.6 says, and for everybody's reference, there are many different versions of the Bhagavad Gita. The one Alana ji has is from Ranganathananda, which is from the Advaita Ashram. Some of you have the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Some of you have the version from Mukundananda. So that's all okay. So some words may be mismatching, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the crux of it. So 2.6 is basically we are uncertain which outcome of this war would be more favorable for us. Defeating them or being defeated by them. Even after killing them, we will have no desire to continue living. However, they have allied themselves with the sons of Dhritarashtra and now stand before us on the battlefield. 2.7, is it okay if I continue, Alana ji?
Yes, please.
Okay. 2.7, my mind is confused about my duty and I am consumed by anxiety and doubt. I am your devoted student and have fully surrendered to you. Please enlighten me on the most appropriate path for me to take. 2.8, I am unable to shake off this overwhelming grief that is sapping my strength. Even if I attain a successful and unparalleled kingdom on earth, or wield power akin to the gods in heaven, I will not be able to alleviate this pain. And 2.9, Sanjaya said, having thus spoken, Gudakesh, the chastiser of enemies, addressed Rishikesh, Govinda, I shall not fight. And he became silent. Hare Krishna. So this is what the verses were from 2.4 to 2.9. Now we can start with the explanation and some of my interpretations based on the teachings of many great gurus like Mukundananda, Ranganathananda, Prabhupada, Vivekananda. So it's a kind of a collection of teachings from many great sages all put together. So the first thing we are going to cover is the difference between knowledge and intelligence. So Krishna knew that Arjuna was in a very emotional state. And Krishna knew that Arjuna had to be pacified. And he knew that Arjuna had to be pacified with knowledge. Because as per Krishna, knowledge and intelligence, they are the greatest tools that we can use to get rid of our ignorance and succeed, not just in the spiritual path, but also on the material plane. Knowledge and intelligence, they are very related concepts, but they are not the same thing. So according to Vedanta, knowledge is pretty much information. This is the information that we all gather throughout our lifetime by reading, by listening, by whatever means. That is knowledge. Only knowledge can be stored and shared with people, whereas intelligence is a higher concept. Intelligence refers to the ability to understand and apply that knowledge. It's a very profound concept which is mentioned in other scriptures like Chandogya Upanishad. So you cannot just transfer intelligence, you can only transfer knowledge. You cannot share intelligence, you can only share knowledge. So that is why many of us have had the Bhagavad Gita in our homes. We have kept it in the showcase, right? That is knowledge. It's been with us for years. But how did it help us? It will help us only when we start utilizing our intelligence to understand that knowledge and apply it in day-to-day life. That is the whole intent of this satsanga. That is the whole intent of these Bhagavad Gita sessions, to help us develop that intelligence. So that is why, if you see, we don't try to focus too much on memorizing all these shlokas or remembering the names of all the kings and kingdoms and all of that, because that's not going to serve the true purpose. What is absolutely essential for us is to introspect upon the lessons being learned and utilizing those lessons in our day-to-day lives. Now see, that is one of the true values of being associated with a group of like-minded devotees, which we are calling a satsanga here. The satsanga is not just another group. It is not for just chatting and or forwarding fun stuff. It is a group for interactive learning and helping each other introspect and understand the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. That is why I kind of always insist that let's use the satsanga the right way to fulfill your purpose, true purpose. The satsanga will benefit all of us if we use it the right way. So Arjuna had a lot of knowledge. He had a lot of knowledge about Vedas and scriptures, but still he demonstrated a lack of intelligence because he couldn't apply that knowledge at a time of need. That is why Krishna had to ask him, Kutashva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam. So at this time, you're not able to use your intelligence. So Shri Krishna will later address this in the 11th sloka. We will look at that as well later on. Now, if you see what is happening here, Arjuna has a lot of his own ideas, his own emotions, his own feelings. So Arjuna had his own ideas, his own emotions, his own feelings. Now he was of the opinion that people like Bhishma, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, they're all so respectful. He's like, I won't even dare argue with them, Krishna. How can I battle with them? Even if I'm victorious, I won't be able to enjoy the victory. This is what Arjuna feels. Now, what is very profound comes next. Arjuna says, I would rather let them kill me in battle unarmed. In other words, I will just lay down all my arms and just stand there and let them shoot me and kill me. Now let us understand the fact here. The fact is, these warriors, they had all taken the side of adharma. They were all fighting for Kauravas. Why? They were all wise. They were all learned. We are talking about Dronacharya. We are talking about Kripacharya. We are talking about Bhishma. Extremely learned, wise men. So why are they on the side of adharma? Why are they fighting for Kauravas? This is a very important lesson for all of us. Because they all had obligations to the wicked Duryodhana. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that it is not a sin to battle and kill them in the war, because they were all fighting on the side of adharma. In fact, Bhishma himself, he says that a teacher who acts immorally and takes the side of unrighteousness or adharma is fit to be abandoned. This is Bhishma's own words. But first, let us for a second come back and focus on Arjuna again. Look at his state of mind, that emotional state of mind. One of the greatest warriors of his times is considering suicide. How ridiculous is this? A warrior like Arjuna, who is capable of defeating an entire army by himself, now is considering suicide. So Krishna had to calm his mind and he had to sharpen his intellect by imparting the knowledge of Sankhya Yoga. One of the lessons here is very important lessons for all of us. Practical lesson is, don't say or do anything when you are in an emotional state of mind. Because at that time, whatever we say or do will not be correct. It won't be good for us. Our feelings should be controlled by our intelligence. Very important. Now, people who are in the corporate sector or people who work in offices, they will readily understand what I'm saying next is, sometimes if you are angry and you are responding to an email, let's say you got an email which really upset you and you want to respond right there. How dare, right? And you are responding and it's a very angry, you are in a very angry mood and you are typing your response. My advice is based on the advice of Shri Krishna. I mean, Krishna doesn't talk about emails, but he talks about responding when you are in the state of mind, is pause. Save that email in draft. Wait a few hours or maybe wait a day if you can. And then look at your own email that you are going to send. Invariably, 99.99% of the time, you will yourself feel shocked. Oh, did I write this? Was I going to send this? You see what I mean? So this kind of, at least a pause and not reacting when you are very emotional can save you from a lot of troubles in life. The other lesson, now let's come back to these warriors. Now, Arjuna respected Bhishma, Drona, Shalya. Shalya is Nakul and Sahadev's uncle. And he had requested them to fight on his side. He said, you either fight on my side or at least be neutral. Please don't go fight for the Kauravas. But they couldn't agree to that. Why? They all said that they were bound by their duties to serve the Kauravas. Basically, they all received wealth and material support from the Kauravas, and that made them obliged to the Kauravas. And so they had to fight on the Kaurava side. On top of that, of course, Bhishma also had this very famous pratigya, the vow that I will always protect the ruling king of Kurus. See, you know, the story is mentioned in Mahabharata that Dronacharya was very poor. And Bhishma supported him materially on behalf of Hastinapur. And that is why Dronacharya felt obliged to the Kauravas. Now, Shalya also had received wealth and support from the Kauravas. Now, they all knew that Kauravas were on the side of adharma, but they all felt obliged. That obligation became so strong that in spite of knowing that they are on the side of adharma, they had to still continue fighting for the adharmic side. Just imagine if both Bhishma and Dronacharya had refused to fight on the side of Duryodhana, the battle would probably have ended in one day. It wouldn't have gone for 18 days. So in spite of all their virtue and wisdom, they had to fight on the side of adharma. Now in the Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata, it is said that man is the servant of wealth. Wealth is never the servant of anybody. So the other important lesson in life is very important. we should be very careful from whom we accept money, monetary help, and monetary support or material support, because otherwise we will end up becoming obliged to serve all the wrong kind of people. That would become a bondage, a kind of obligation. If possible, we should avoid seeking monetary help from others. And if you have to seek help, then you should be very, very careful who we are seeking it from. Otherwise, we may end up in this kind of unfortunate situations. We may end up having to become a party to adharma unwillingly. Now, when Bhishma was on his deathbed, I mean, this is the story. If you don't know Mahabharata, I can just tell you quickly that eventually Bhishma dies and Arjuna is responsible for killing Bhishma. Now, Bhishma was a very great warrior, and Bhishma had this boon that it is called Ichha Mrityu. Means Bhishma, he can decide when he wants to die. Until he makes a decision, he cannot die. So he had that kind of a powerful boon. So Arjuna had to wound him pretty mortally, and eventually Bhishma dies. So when Bhishma was on his deathbed, Lord Krishna takes all the Pandavas to Bhishma to get some life lessons, because everybody revered and respected Bhishma. Bhishma was such a personality. He was known to be extremely wise. So Krishna takes the Pandavas to Bhishma and says, please give them some life lessons. And if you don't know, that is the time when Bhishma gives the Vishnu Sahasranama, the 1,000 names of Vishnu that was recited by Bhishma at that time from his deathbed. And that is one of the most popular shlokas that we all listen in the mornings. So Bhishma advises, gives a lot of different advices to Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. Bhishma talks about dharma, he talks about rightful way of life. He also explains Rajaniti to Yudhishthira. Rajaniti is political science. So a lot of good things he is telling the Pandavas. Now, Draupadi is standing. Draupadi is the wife of the Pandavas. So she's standing close by and she starts laughing. Now, everybody is a little concerned. They are like, Bhishma is in the deathbed. It is such a serious situation. And Bhishma is giving such wonderful life lessons. He's talking about Rajaniti. He's talking about dharma. Draupadi, why are you laughing? You know? Then Draupadi says, I just feel, I find it very funny that on the deathbed, Bhishma is talking about dharma, so much dharma. Whereas when he was alive, he was supporting the adharmic people. So I just find it very funny. What happened to all this dharmic knowledge when he was alive and strong? It's a valid question, right? Now, Bhishma then tells Draupadi, he says, daughter, all these days I have been eating food offered by Duryodhana, and the negative energy of that food had gotten into my blood and my intellect became clouded. And after Arjuna pierced me with all the arrows, all that blood went out of my body. And now I have regained my senses and intellect. Such a profound statement. But that is the reason Lord Krishna will say later in the Bhagavad Gita that the food we eat shapes our destiny. Very, very powerful. Now, when we listen to that later in the Bhagavad Gita, that will start making more sense once you have this context here of what Bhishma said on his deathbed. So food, body, soul, they are all interlinked. And hence Krishna says that we should always offer food to him. So one of the ways of making sure that the food doesn't have negative energy, there are many, many things Krishna will say later on. But one of the quickest and most effective ways is offer the food to Krishna before consuming it. At least intend that you are offering the food to Krishna. Pray for his blessings. Tell Krishna, Krishna, please bless me. Please sanctify the food. And then Krishna promises to take care of that negative energy in the food. And he will give it back to us in purified form. That is the whole concept of prasad. So this is a term we use in India a lot. We call it prasad or prasadam. So why do we go to a temple and eat prasad? What is the whole concept? Like you can cook the same thing at home and eat, right? The whole concept is the negative energies are taken care of by God, because that is the atmosphere created there. We are offering the food to God. Everybody is in positive mindset and the food absorbs the energy. and it becomes positive. That's the whole idea. Now let us come back to our protagonist, Arjuna. So in verse 2.7, you can mark that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, put a star next to it. Why? Because in that verse, Arjuna admits that he is confused. He admits that he does not know what is the right thing to do. See, the truly ignorant are those who don't know that they don't know. Now, we become ready to learn only when we acknowledge that we don't know. As long as we don't acknowledge that I don't know, there is no learning. Learning won't start. But there is a very interesting saying which says, if someone does not know that they do not know, ignore them. If someone knows that they do not know, teach them. If someone knows that they know, learn from them. It's a very, I think it's simple, but yet it's very profound. So here Arjuna says, my mind is confused about what is duty, what is not duty. And I'm consumed by anxiety and doubt. And then he says, Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. I am your devoted student and I have fully surrendered to you. Please enlighten me on the most appropriate path for me to take. That is what is happening in 2.7. That's why I'm saying put a star mark next to that, because this verse 2.7 is a turning point in the life of Arjuna. And if we understand the lesson of that shloka, and if we implement it in our lives, it will be a turning point in our own spiritual lives as well. Because till that point, Arjuna was seeing only a friend in Krishna. He was treating him like a friend. But in that verse, he starts seeing the teacher or the guru in Krishna. And he says, I surrender to you. And he's requesting Krishna to accept him as a student. See, it is only when a student surrenders to the guru that the guru can start teaching, especially confidential knowledge, spiritual knowledge. In Vedanta, unsought advice is prohibited. It is written in Vedanta that you shall not impart knowledge that is not sought. So unless we seek something, what is given to us has no value. Now we have to keep this in mind, because even if we are in the position of giving, if we go on giving things to people who are not seeking it, it's not going to have any value. It is just wasted gift, be it knowledge or be it material things. So in one of the previous sessions, Poonamji asked a question, what to do if somebody is not willing to listen? What to do if somebody is not understanding? So I hope you get the answer here, Poonamji. So even according to Vedanta, that is the answer. Answer is, if someone does not know that they do not know, just ignore them. Only when somebody is willing to learn, when somebody says, I don't know, that is when the learning can start. That is when you should impart knowledge to them. Now, let us also quickly talk about the importance of a guru, because that's also starting from 2.7. The guru is given a lot of importance in the Vedic literature. So there was a very great saint called Kabir. You can, if you don't know about Kabir, you can Google. And Kabir, one of the most beautiful aspects of Kabir is he had the technique to impart powerful lessons in two verses. Like he can just say 2 lines and one particular concept will be imparted to you. So they are called dohas. So when it comes to guru, Kabir says, Guru Govind dou kade kake lagu paye, balihari guru aapne Govind diyo bataye. So someone is asking Kabir, my guru and my God, they are both standing in front of me. Who should I pay my respects to first? It's a confusion. Like, because scriptures say guru should also be worshipped and God should also be worshipped. Both are standing in front of me. Who gets the first priority? So Sant Kabir says, first bow down to your guru, because he is the one who showed you the path to God. If you did not have the guru, you would not have even identified or recognized God. So that is why he says, first bow down to the guru. So Krishna is the original supreme guru. He is the Jagat Guru. So it is our job to see the Guru in Krishna. It's okay to consider Krishna as a friend. You can consider Krishna as a child, as a lover, whatever you want. That's all fine. But our spiritual growth requires that we see the Guru in Krishna. That's very, very important. Now, in these verses, you will see that Arjuna starts to get his clarity and his depression is no more. He's beginning to realize that he has been overtaken by weak-heartedness. He admits that he's still overcome by grief, anxiety, and sadness, and he feels incapable of fighting the righteous war. Now, he really needs the help of the Guru. He is in a serious situation. As we just discussed, this great warrior is considering suicide. So he is in need of help. So that is why he seeks, or he sees the Guru in Krishna and he says, Guruji, help me. Now, we are all Arjunas who are fighting our own battles in our own lives. We all have to face our own problems. We have to overcome them. That challenge is there before all of us. It's also very symbolic. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us how we can manage our own selves, how we can evolve, how we can become stronger, how we can overcome the various hurdles in our own lives, and how can we help others too in the journey. That is the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita. That is why after the first half of the second chapter, the word war does not appear anywhere in the Bhagavad Gita. It's all about character, purity, love, compassion, self-development, spiritual evolution. Those are the concepts throughout the Bhagavad Gita. So people with half knowledge will just say Bhagavad Gita is talking about war. No, war is kind of a context. It is kind of a starting point. But then the book is not about war. The book is all about these virtues we just spoke about. Now Arjuna, the student, is ready for receiving knowledge. So from here onwards, Shri Krishna will start imparting that divine knowledge to Arjuna. So in his commentary on this part of the Gita, Swami Vivekananda, who is a very, very prominent saint, student of one of the greatest sages of India. So Swami Vivekananda quotes from the Katha Upanishad and he says, Uttishta Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodata, which means arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. So our goal in life should be self-realization leading to God realization. That has to be the goal of every human being. We must first open our eyes to reality. We have to acknowledge what we don't know. And we have to seek the required guidance. And we should not stop until we have reached the absolute goal. Don't get disheartened. Don't get distracted. Prioritize this knowledge. Prioritize seeking help. And be consistent. That's the whole message. So at this point in Gita, Shloka 2.9 is a very dramatic kind of a turning point in the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna says, I surrender to you, Krishna. I'm confused. I need knowledge. And he says, at this point, Govinda, I cannot fight. So he kind of gives up and he says, Govinda, I can't fight. I'm so confused. I'm so anxious. I'm so nervous. I just don't know what I'm doing. You have to teach me. But until you teach me at this, I don't think I can fight. So he just says, I surrender. Now let us see how Krishna addresses the situation. So from this point onwards, in the next few slokas, Krishna will address this situation very beautifully. So we will start seeing that from the next session. So I think that is all for today's session. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your support and association. As I mentioned, the satsanga is a very, very important aspect of spiritual growth. When like-minded people sit together, when we all listen, when we all study together, there is a very tremendous amount of positive energy going around. And that helps us assimilate the knowledge more effectively. Otherwise, the Bhagavad Gita, just Google Bhagavad Gita and you will find a million links. You go to YouTube, you search for Bhagavad Gita, you'll find a million recordings. Even my own sessions are recorded. I share the recordings, but it won't be that effective. It won't be that effective to just sit alone and listen to all of that as compared to sitting in a satsang with fellow devotees and listening to the same thing. It's a very different feeling. It's a very different experience. So my request is try to prioritize this. I mean, I don't think 1 hour a week is too much to ask for spiritual development. So I hope to see more of you more consistently. So Hare Krishna. With that, I will open the floor for any comments or questions. Maybe I will stop the recording if you are feeling shy.